Yahweh's going to have to postpone some things until Israel gets into the land. Numbers 15, verse 1. Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, when you have come into the land of your habitations which I give to you, and will make an offering by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering or a sacrifice to accomplish a vow, or as a freewill offering, or in your set feast to make a pleasant aroma to Yahweh, of the herd or of the flock." Comment. Verse 2, Yahweh is about to give them a law that won't take effect until they enter the promised land. Verse 3, the law will apply to all animal offerings made by fire, except for sin and trespass offerings. He's about to tell them to offer a meal and drink offering with every animal offering. We'll read through the entire law and summarize. Verse 4, then he who offers his offering shall offer to Yahweh a meal offering of 1/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with a 4th part of a hin of oil. You shall prepare wine for the drink offering, the 4th part of a hin, with the burnt offering, or for the sacrifice for each lamb. Or for a ram you shall prepare for a meal offering 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with a 3rd part of a hin of oil. And for the drink offering you shall offer the 3rd part of a hin of wine of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. When you prepare a bull for a burnt offering or for a sacrifice to accomplish a vow or for a peace offering to Yahweh, then he shall offer with the bull a meal offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with a half hin of oil. And you shall offer for the drink offering half a hin of wine for an offering made by fire of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. Thus it shall be done for each bull or for each ram or for each of the male lambs or of the young goats. According to the number that you shall prepare, you shall do to everyone according to their number. Comment. Yahweh says you shall offer fine flour mixed with oil, plus wine, along with every animal. The amount which is due increases with the size of the animal. The flour ranges from a half to 1 to 1.5 gallons, mixed with about half as much oil. The wine ranges from 1 to 1.5 to 2 quarts, depending on the animal offered. This will apply only after they arrive in the land. It applies to all animals offered by fire, except for sin and trespass offerings. In the wilderness, they don't have much access to flour, oil, and wine. God didn't require something from them that they didn't have. Going on about the same law, verse 13, all who are native-born shall do these things in this way, in offering an offering made by fire of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh. If a stranger lives as a foreigner with you, or whoever may be among you throughout your generations, and will offer an offering made by fire of a pleasant aroma to Yahweh, as you do, so he shall do. For the assembly there shall be one statute for you and for the stranger who lives as a foreigner, a statute forever throughout your generations. As you are, so shall the foreigner be before Yahweh. One law and one ordinance shall be for you and for the stranger who lives as a foreigner with you. Comment. The law above about sacrifices applies to the foreigner as well as the Israelite. That's good news for us Gentiles. We're not excluded. Quote, there's no distinction between Jew and Greek, Romans 10:12. The passage in Hebrews 10, verses 1 through 18, tells us why Yahweh commanded the animal sacrifices in the first place. Animals had no power to take away sin, but they successfully pointed to the coming Christ. Those who came to the altar in faith were cleansed not by the blood of the animal, but by the blood of the coming Christ. Verse 17, Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, When you come into the land where I bring you, then it shall be that when you eat of the bread of the land, you shall offer up a wave offering to Yahweh. Of the first of your dough you shall offer up a cake for a wave offering. As the wave offering of the threshing floor, so you shall heave it. Of the first of your dough you shall give to Yahweh a wave offering throughout your generations. Comment, verse 18, this is another law that won't take effect until they come into the land. Verse 20, the offering will come from the threshing floor. To thresh means to beat the stalks to make the grain fall off. This was done at a threshing floor, which is a flat, clean area from which the grain could be gathered with minimal soil and gravel contamination. A big, flat, clean, smooth rock would be ideal. Verse 20, from the first of the dough they shall make a cake or a loaf. Verse 21, they shall give the cake or loaf to Yahweh as a wave offering. The traditional grains in Israel were barley and wheat. The barley ripened early and the wheat later. it seems this law applies to both grains or to any grain. This doesn't seem to be the same observation as the holy observation of first fruits, which occurred during the week of unleavened bread. There, Israelites were to bring a sheaf of barley to the tabernacle, not a loaf. And it doesn't seem to describe the Feast of Weeks, which occurred after the wheat harvest. There, Israelites were to bring 2 loaves of bread to the tabernacle, not 1, as it says here. So this may be describing a ceremony to be performed at home in simple thanksgiving for the very first of the loaves from the new grain crops. Verse 19, the loaf was to be lifted or waved or heaved to Yahweh. 1 Timothy 4, verses 3 through 5 in the New Testament, food should be received with prayer and thanksgiving. Coming up, Yahweh commands what should be done when all the congregation sins unknowingly. Verse 22. When you err and don't observe all these commandments which Yahweh has spoken to Moses, even all that Yahweh has commanded you by Moses, from the day that Yahweh gave the commandment and onward throughout your generations, then it shall be, if it was done unwittingly, without the knowledge of the congregation, that all the congregation shall offer 1 young bull for a burnt offering, for a pleasant aroma to Yahweh, with its meal offering and its drink offering according to the ordinance, and 1 male goat for a sin offering. The priest shall make atonement for all the congregation of the children of Israel, and they shall be forgiven. For it was an error, and they have brought their offering, an offering made by fire to Yahweh, and their sin offering before Yahweh for their error. All the congregation of the children of Israel shall be forgiven, as well as the stranger who lives as a foreigner among them. For with regard to all the people, it was done unwittingly. Comment, that was a young bull for burnt offering along with its meal and drink offering, plus a male goat for a sin offering, 2 animals. This is a little different procedure from Leviticus chapter 4. There, if the whole congregation sinned unintentionally, they were to offer just a young bull as a sin offering. This was a bull for burnt plus a male goat for sin. Perhaps these offerings are for 2 slightly different situations. It's going to be up to the high priest to interpret the law and apply the correct sacrifices. Verse 27, if 1 person sins unwittingly, then he shall offer a female goat, a year old, for a sin offering. The priest shall make atonement for the soul who errs when he sins unwittingly before Yahweh, to make atonement for him, and he shall be forgiven. Comment, this is the same as the sin offering for a common person in Leviticus 4, a female goat, no change in the law. Verse 29, you shall have 1 law for him who does anything unwittingly, for him who is native born among the children of Israel, and for the stranger who lives as a foreigner among them. But the soul who does anything with a high hand, whether he is native born or a foreigner, the same blasphemes Yahweh. That soul shall be cut off from among his people. Because he has despised Yahweh's word and has broken his commandment, that soul shall be utterly cut off. His iniquity shall be on him. Comment, all along the sin offerings have been for unintentional sins only, something that was brought to the offender's attention after the fact. Here Yahweh addresses the high-handed sin, which is a sin committed intentionally and openly. There is no sacrifice available for a high-handed sin. That soul shall be utterly cut off from among his people, meaning the atoning sacrifices of Israel shall not apply to him. So what are the total implications of this? We might think of what happened to David when he committed adultery with Bathsheba and arranged for her husband to be abandoned by the army in battle. In effect, David murdered her husband. He didn't bring a sin offering to the temple. The Lord said to him, quote, now therefore the sword will never depart from your house, because you have despised me and have taken Uriah the Hittite's wife to be your wife. 2 Samuel 12:10. So there were severe consequences for David, but we know God did accept him into his everlasting arms. As David prophesied, quote, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalm 23:6. Let's take heart from Ezekiel 18, verses 21 and 22, quote, if the wicked turns from all his sins that he has committed, and keeps all my statutes, and does that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die. None of his transgressions that he has committed will be remembered against him. In his righteousness that he has done, he shall live, end quote. And Isaiah 1:18, quote, though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow, end quote. Verse 32, while the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. Those who found him gathering sticks brought him to Moses and Aaron and to all the congregation. They put him in custody because it had not been declared what should be done to him. Comment: this is a rare time when someone was put in detention. The law didn't prescribe jail time for anything. The man's in custody only until Yahweh speaks. Yahweh has already spoken twice about this situation, Exodus 31:14 and 35:2, that Sabbath breakers shall be put to death, but he didn't say how. Verse 35, Yahweh said to Moses, the man shall surely be put to death. All the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. All the congregation brought him outside of the camp and stoned him to death with stones, as Yahweh commanded Moses. Comment: Christians are free to recognize or not recognize a Sabbath day, Colossians 2:16. The Sabbath, as practiced by ancient Israel, provided a picture of the complete and total relaxation to come after our departure from this life, Colossians 2:17. Verse 37, Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the children of Israel and tell them that they should make themselves fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put on the fringe of each border a cord of blue, and it shall be to you for a fringe, that you may look on it, and remember all Yahweh's commandments and do them, and that you don't follow your own heart and your own eyes, after which you used to play the prostitute, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy to your God. I am Yahweh your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Yahweh your God. Comment: Yahweh commanded Israel to wear a blue fringe on their garments to remind them of all Yahweh's commandments, that he brought them out of Egypt, and that he is their God. The blue fringe is a constant reminder. Moment by moment, we mustn't forget God. The national flag of modern Israel is blue on a white background. That's the chapter. Number 16 is next at landofhavilah.net. Number 16.